What's on your
I
mind?
just the last word. There were two really good There were two really good questions that scrolled past already. One was about how do we move forward in terms of the Black vote. I mean, in terms of the vote in general, we need to be getting out, mobilizing, organizing, having face-to-face conversations. Grassroots really needs, whether the campaign is engaging you or not. Grassroots has to step up and fill the gap, because that's what made the difference in Michigan. The ground game is what made the difference in Iowa and New Hampshire and Nevada as well. I mean, you can't, you can't, you can't just say, oh, well, the campaign needs to, I mean, you can't say political revolution on the one hand, then be like, oh, but the campaign's not doing enough on the other hand. Either step up, put up, or shut up. And then the other question was about race and progressive politics. Yes, race has to be a component of dealing with progressive politics. Everybody can say, oh, we're all human, or oh, this doesn't matter. That's a very privileged position to take, because the fact that you can say that we're all human and race doesn't matter means that race is not a factor in your life. Plain and simple.
Right.
That's very idealistic and stuff like that, but like that's not the reality. Like I wrote a post when the decision came down about Tamir Rice in December. My son had just got a paint gun. My son is 12. He's 5'9". He looks way older than he really is. So I empathize a lot with many of the mothers of the movement. But when the decision came down and my son had just got a paintball gun, he wanted to run outside and show it to his friends. I panicked and started screaming to figure out where he was at in the house, because racially, my Black son holding even a paintball gun is more likely to evoke fear in someone who might act irrationally than one of his white counterparts. I mean, that's just reality, unfortunately. So no, we can't ignore race. And yes, race absolutely has to be on the platform for whatever progressive movement we're talking about, because we still have a problem with race within progressive movements anyway. That has been going back to Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln and Martin R. Delaney when you're talking about what to do about slavery and the Civil War, or do we send Blacks back to Africa? Do we give them equality upon freedom? Like seriously, like this is a long-term issue. This is not a new, and again, it's not a Bernie Sanders only issue. I know JP said there's issues with HRC people. Yeah, there are, but you know what? I'm trying to clean up our house. I can't police their field over there. They got to worry about that themselves.
And it goes back so far, Anoa. I thought you were gonna get the last words. I will let you get the last word, but I have to say this: the reality of it is that if me on my show, I go leaps and bounds to connect the economic unification, the economic issues that we have in common across races, because of the underlying issue. I firmly believe the underlying issue is money. I go and fight against people every single day on behalf of the economic issues, because I know if we address the economic issues, then we can fix some of the underlying race issues. But if I'm willing to go that extra mile on economics, then I sure as hell expect my listeners to go the extra mile on race and understand that there is a racial component to every single one of these conversations, that if you never lived it, you won't understand it. You won't understand someone clutching their purse on an elevator with you simply because you're Black, someone who is grabbing their bags, or even worse than that, someone really fearing you. I didn't tell you guys this story because I don't like telling all the stuff that happens to me. But there was a lady who was, I don't know if she was having a stroke. I don't know what was going on, but she basically was, she needed she had a medical emergency. And me being me, I ran to her. I saw her collapsing. I went and grabbed her and helped her up. Do you know she was more angry that I approached her and grabbed her and helped her than the fact that she could have died? And my wife asked me later, well, did you have your beanie on? Did you have your Scully on? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, she said, did you have your Beats headphones on? I'm like, yeah. She said, did you have your Timberlands on? I said, yeah. She said, so basically you look like what they have been trained to be afraid of. And I said, shit. Now I understand why she was more afraid of me than dying. And she was afraid of me helping her. And it wasn't until white police officers came over. This shit happened 2 weeks ago. It wasn't until white police officers came over that she admitted that she was having some type of medical emergency. I don't know what it was. Do you understand what we're saying when we say that? Now, that's not, for me, that's not even a big deal. The big deal for me is that I pay $25,000 a year in childcare. That's the big deal for me. It's economic. It's all economic for me. But if I'm going to make the exception to ignore or to not put emphasis on the reality that I face with racism every day, then you sure as hell, as a listener and somebody who believes in Benjamin Dixon and the Progressive Army, you need to be able to make that same extension to say there is a racial element underneath that we need to consider. I'm done. Noah, you get the last word, and I'm playing this music.
I mean, you know, we're all here to have these conversations and stuff together. You don't like the conversation, you know, you can call in and you can try and add something in, or you can go and start your own conversation someplace else. But you are definitely, I mean, we definitely have to have the difficult conversations. And no, we're not giving white progressives a break. Nobody's getting a break. You know what I'm saying? I don't get a break. I don't get a break. You know, my parents, on top of me being a Black child growing up in Harlem and the South Side of Chicago, I got an African name on top of that. So I don't get a break. You know what I'm saying? People see me coming a mile away. But we really do need to dig in deep and deal with these conversations and deal with these issues as we're going forward, as we're talking about. Yes, of course, there is still a way forward for Bernie Sanders in this election. There's a way forward for Bernie Sanders amongst voters of color in general across the board. And the things that I see from people on Facebook, no, it's not just, oh, it's a rarity or whatever. There's so much going on out there, and y'all do need more than just a little gentle, oh, don't say that. No, I mean, if you run into me on Twitter or on Facebook, I most definitely will be correcting you, because there's a post going on around right now, basically denouncing, or there's an article denouncing the protest, which was a very valiant effort that was organized by a lot of students and other activists of color in Chicago. And to see Bernie supporters going on and on about how, no, we don't need to, you know, that was Clinton and Soros. They planted those people to create something violent. Like, look, okay, y'all, some of y'all are about part of the problem. No, white progressives don't give me a break. How about that, hun? Like, white progressives do not give me a break, like nonstop. The fact that I'm a very well-educated Black woman and I have to go above and beyond to prove myself.
Listen, no, here's a perfect example.
Live experiences to it that, no, perfect example. No, I don't need you to give me a break.
Here's a perfect.
I'm not that weak.
My show, I bring greater political analysis. You and me, we bring greater political analysis than anything on TV. But we have to work from 5 a.m. to midnight just to build a goddamn audience, right? That shows you. And I know people who I love them, and I'm not saying this divisively, whatever, both same difference, but they are able to build and cultivate an audience much quicker than I am, because they have the right smile, they have the right gender, they have the right race, and they're able to get an easy go. Now, that's not everybody's story. I'm not pulling a pity case. I don't have any problem having to be twice as good at what I do than anybody else. I'm up for the challenge. And you know what? I don't need anybody's affirmative action on radio, because I'm coming for every one of your asses, right? But the fact of the matter is, we literally, this is not a game. We literally work twice as hard as anybody else just for a fraction of what anybody else is getting. That is my life story. And so long as a Noah's hanging with me, that's kind of your life story too.
And it's not just young Bernie supporters. We need to stop blaming it on millennials. I find there are people much older than me. I've actually blocked several older white people and a few Black people. Yep. Recently, because it's just ridiculous. But at the same time, like, we need to active engage. Like, I learned from you guys too in the chat room and stuff. And no, it's not that we want to disable the chat, but if you guys, like, seriously, you're commenting, so you clearly want to be engaged with. So don't. If you get pushback, don't, like, this is interactive. This is what we do. But at the same time, like, yes, there's definitely a way forward. But and that's see, look, we need to take accountability. We need to take accountability. That whole, it's not everywhere. It's everywhere. It's not just Bernie supporters. I'm not talking about everywhere. Okay, we're talking about this movement. We're talking about this election that we're trying to win. We're talking about this building and this work that we have to do. It doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. Everybody else is also taking dirty money. And your point. Yeah. So we need to
Let me
we
get
need
this
to
last
be
point. Let me
active.
get this
Yes,
last
we need to be active and engaged in dealing with
Noah goes.
our actual movement and what we're trying to do. So every time somebody raises an objection to something that's going on, to say that, oh, well, they do it over there, that's not going to help us move
Yeah.
forward. That's
But
not going
this
to help
other
stop
thing,
hemorrhaging all these votes that
there's
we're losing. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and we need to wake up, accept the criticism, and keep it moving.
here's the thing, and I said I want you guys to watch the video that I tweeted out today. I did a video 8 months ago, and I asked the question: can Bernie Sanders win the black vote and maintain the Reddit vote? At the time, I wasn't able to correctly identify it other than Reddit. But this is exactly what has been so far the downfall of why Bernie Sanders has lost certain states. It's because he has not been able to capitalize on the black vote as well as the young millennial left-leaning progressive vote. And you know what? You know why? Because it requires a maturity level. This is where the opportunity is on our side of the equation. This opportunity is not on Hillary Clinton's side of the equation. On our side of the equation, for us to have this alliance, we must have these conversations. We must be mature enough to understand the differences in our opinions, the differences in our perspectives, the fact that there's some white people who can't understand everything that we said for the last 40 minutes. And you know what? I can respect the fact that you don't understand that. But it doesn't matter that you don't understand that. You need to put that in your calculus. If you want something from me, you don't have to understand it. You have to respect it and understand that this is something that you have to do to get something from me. It
Yep.
requires a mature relationship that is not happening on Hillary Clinton's side. Hillary Clinton's side, they are pandering on race. They're not having the mature, necessary conversation on race that I'm giving you and Anoa is giving you right now tonight. And you know what? Bernie Sanders camp, they didn't give it to you either. And they didn't give it to you soon enough, because if they had, they would have shitted on Hillary Clinton. They would have poo-pooed all over Hillary Clinton's campaign, but they didn't because they weren't fully aware of it and they didn't know me at that time. But, you know, shit, that's my fault for not coming out sooner. All right, folks, I am tired. We are beating a dead horse.